Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll make a gentle start to the day. My name is Ian Winter. I'm the Executive Director of Ahuri. Welcome to this morning's seminar. The seminar program that we run is a national program. We run events like this in every capital city throughout the year, and it's terrific to be in Brisbane today. The seminars are a very important part of the Institute's work. We are very committed to conducting research that is policy and practice relevant. And today's conversation is the sort of conversation that can make the research relevant to policy and practice. This isn't just a dissemination of research to a passive audience. We need your participation, your questions, your engagement with the research, and it's through those conversations that will drive the relevance of the research to your interests and needs. So there'll be plenty of time for question and answer with each of the speakers this morning. And as I say, that's a very important part of making sure the research is relevant to your interests. The research that we're reporting on this morning is from the Institute's National Housing Research Program. The National Housing Research Program is funded by the Australian Government, the Queensland Government, and all of the others as well. It's also funded and supported by the 10 university partners of the Institute. And we're very grateful to the support of housing ministers across the country and the chief executives and senior officials within the housing agencies. This is in many ways, a unique research program with governments investing in independent research conducted through a national network of universities. It's now been running for 11 years. We're sort of just got some sign-off on our next sort of round of funding. And it's terrific, I think, that ministers and senior officials continue to place their trust and value the contribution that an independent research institute like Ahuri can provide. Some housekeeping matters, the emergency exits when the place starts burning down, just here. Other emergencies such as toilets are out and round to your right. We will be sending out an evaluation survey to your iPhones during the session. So as soon as you've got those, please fill those out and give us your feedback at the conclusion of today's events. And all of the materials, the slides from the seminar will be on the Ahuri website at the conclusion of proceedings today. So you don't need to worry about making furious notes. You'll be able to access all of the materials from there. We are also recording today's proceedings and the audio recording, which is sounding a little echoey and whispery at the moment from here, but will be available on the website as well for those who are unable to attend. It's my great pleasure to introduce Tony Waters to introduce today's proceedings. And Tony is the Deputy Director General of Housing and Homelessness Services at the Department of Communities and Disability Services in Queensland. Will you please make Tony very, very welcome?
Well, good morning, everybody, and it is a pleasure here to welcome you and to introduce or open the exercise today. Before I start, can I acknowledge the traditional owners and elders of the land on which we're meeting today? And can I also welcome all of our interstate and regional visitors, and particularly the seminar participants here this morning. Almost 9 months have now passed since Queensland endured its worst season in recent memory for floods and cyclones. The images of devastation, heartbreak and loss were transmitted nationally and globally, and it was a harsh reminder of how nature can impact and destroy the built fabric of communities on a state and national scale. But it also demonstrates the real value of community, where neighbours near and far are prepared to work to help each other in times of hardship, and to me, that's a sign of a healthy community. Your seminar today will explore the theme of healthy, sustainable suburbs, and it seems apt and presents a policy challenge not only for government, but the broader community. With all that we do, how do we create healthy and sustainable neighbourhoods that are resilient and resistant to natural, economic and other forces beyond our control, and where the sense of community is strong, where neighbours are prepared to help and support each other? The challenge for us is, how do we bring together our learnings, experiences of the past, and the research from our learned colleagues to build the communities that we need for our sustainable futures? If I can just refer briefly to the Queensland picture, I'd like to share some thoughts on how the Queensland Government is moving forward to contribute to the development of communities through ensuring a supply of affordable housing. It's acknowledged that the government has always had a role in affordable housing. Boosting supply has been a primary focus. The focus has now grown, however, to also concentrate on people's needs, particularly as the complexity of housing need has become more understood by us all. The journey goes back a little way. In 2006, we had a year of significant social housing reform in Queensland with the emergence of the One Social Housing System. This system aimed to bring together all housing and housing service providers to create an integrated and responsive social housing system, a single system, providing a wide range of housing assistance for low to moderate income households and individuals. By 2008, there was a move away from the wait-turn system for social housing to allocating assistance based on the level of client need and for the duration of the need. In addition, we are continuing to explore how we can assist people in the private market as a measure to divert people from entering the social housing system, acknowledging back then in 2008 that the social housing system was never going to be able to cater for all of the people on low incomes who needed housing assistance. With improved targeting to those in greatest need, around 96% of allocations currently are going to people in high or very high need. This targeting does, however, raise questions for us all in relation to the concentration of disadvantage in any neighbourhood and the need now for carefully designed integration of housing types and tenures. In Queensland, we have over 70,000 social housing dwellings available, both managed by government and non-government as well. Since July 2008, we've increased that supply of social housing stock by over 5,000 dwellings, and we'll add another 2,000 dwellings this year, and a lot of that has come on the back of the Commonwealth-funded nation building program. However, as we will add these 7,000 dwellings, the number of people lining up to seek assistance from us is growing much faster than our capacity to increase supply. We have over 30,000 people on the housing register who are eligible for long-term social housing, and this has increased by 9% in the last year alone. Now, some of that could have been caused also by the natural disasters that we experienced in the last 12 months. Over 17,000 or 57% of the people waiting for social housing are in the high or very high need category. We also directly or indirectly assist each year over 200,000 households to remain in the private housing market, and we're going to have to be able to do this even better as we go forward. This includes assistance such as the provision of bond loans and rental grants, tenancy advice, and most recently the introduction of the National Rental Affordability Scheme, which is further and quickly extending the affordable housing options within the private rental market. We have almost 600 households assisted already by the National Rental Affordability Scheme, and there are a further 3,000 expected this year, and we're building up over the next couple of years to hopefully more than 11,000 affordable properties under that scheme. But there are numerous pressures confronting us. Both private market rent and purchase price growth remain at historically high rates and represent significant barriers for low and moderate income households. Statistics and projected trends on the demand for and supply of affordable housing indicate that the gap is getting wider, with housing becoming less affordable to rent or buy. In terms of renting, low and moderate income earners face additional challenges to secure affordable dwellings. While ever we have an undersupply of housing, affordable private rental dwellings, while they may exist, are increasingly being occupied by people on higher incomes. Over 70% of dwellings, which would be affordable to households with incomes below the 50th income percentile, are currently occupied by higher income earners. The National Supply Council estimates an actual shortage of around 116,000 available affordable rental properties in Queensland. However, supply increases alone will not guarantee improved housing outcomes for low to moderate income households. The response in Queensland by the state government has been to establish very recently a future of housing assistance project with dedicated resources to run for the next 18 months. And it will investigate the future of housing assistance and identify opportunities to create a more effective, sustainable and responsible housing assistance system. It will draw on relevant work in other jurisdictions, learnings from research, and will note what has been introduced in other countries. The project will explore the development of a more active housing assistance system, a term given to us by our Minister, including new products and services to encourage and facilitate pathways to independence out of social housing and into the private market. The Minister recognises that we can no longer try to sustain all of our social housing tenancies given the growing queue of people wanting assistance, and so we will need to work harder and to have more initiatives designed to help people move through social housing and out into the private housing market. This will include more active management of allocations and tenancies, mixed rent models and assisting tenants to participate in employment training and community activities. The Future of Housing Assistance project will also seek to influence the national response. We need to see a more comprehensive National Affordable Housing Agreement, NAHA, as it's known, which takes a more comprehensive view of the roles and responsibilities of respective governments, provides capacity to meet growing demand, addresses relative levels of subsidies of tenants in social and private housing, and recognises, and this is important, recognises the costs of support to clients with complex needs. The project will also look at how to support the growth of the non-government housing sector, linked to the introduction of a national regulatory scheme, which we'll see within the next 12 to 18 months. A key element of this support will be to significantly increase the relative proportion of stock owned and managed by identified large-scale community housing providers, which have capacity to upscale and leverage stock to finance growth in affordable housing and social housing. The project will also monitor the outcomes from the Tax Summit. The Australian Government has committed to convening a Tax Summit next month to discuss recommendations emerging from the review of Australia's future tax system, or the Henry Review as we know it. The review made a number of specific recommendations about housing assistance, income support, transfer payments and housing affordability, which have the potential to impact directly on the viability and future direction of state-based housing assistance. So, in conclusion, I'm advised that the third presentation today will look at the existing evidence around the links between housing and health to better understand the gaps in the evidence and suggest a way forward for research in Australia. I look forward to seeing research projects that will contribute to this body of knowledge and inform policy directions in innovation and innovative solutions for the future, which address some of the challenges that I've referred to. Our experiences earlier in the year here in Queensland have sharpened our understanding of the value of community and its impact on a person's health and well-being. I'm confident that the discussions and the debates of today will contribute to the development of policy responses that will assist in the creation of healthy and sustainable communities which can meet the needs of future generations. So I hope you have a good seminar, and I hope you can share some discussion and thought about some of those pretty severe challenges that are facing us, and I look forward to seeing the results and hopefully picking up some of the results as we plan our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. The program structure this morning is that we've got 3 presentations all up. We'll have the first one, then a bit of a response from Paul Coonan from the department, and then some Q&A with yourselves. And then a second paper, then we'll take a break, and then we'll have the third paper. One of the features of the National Housing Research Program today, and it's something that's probably evolved over the past 4 or 5 years, is a breadth of focus, not only across the whole of the housing system, looking at all aspects of the market and social housing, but also trying to link housing and housing questions to other policy fields. And today's seminar is a terrific example of that. We're linking up housing policy conversations to environmental sustainability debates and also health and ageing debates as well. Let me just provide some sort of scene-setting type comments. As Tony mentioned, despite some recent softening in house prices, housing affordability remains a problem for us. We've seen house prices coming off sort of 2 or 3 percentage points in some markets, a bit more in some other markets, but that's against a backdrop of 100% to 200% increases in real housing prices over the past 10 years. I do keep talking to the press that, in fact, this is a good news story. The fact that house prices are softening, the way it gets written up in the media is typically sort of a crisis in our housing system, but I actually think it's a good news story, particularly from the point of view of housing affordability. Critical to solutions to the housing supply and affordability problems that we face is the need for innovation, particularly in ways that enable us to more effectively use the existing infrastructure of our cities to create new housing supply. One of the problems we face is simply that we cannot afford as a country to continue outward expansion and the provision of infrastructure on the fringes of our cities. Hence, we need to more effectively use the existing infrastructure, and hence the rationale for the presentation today from Professor Peter Newton, whose focus will be on what are referred to as the grey fields of our cities, and he'll explain what all that means as well. The recent social housing initiative, the commitment by the federal government to fund up to 20,000 new dwellings, also demanded very high environmental standards from those new dwellings. And of course, state governments have now put in place a range of different systems for, I guess, setting standards for the environmental performance of residential buildings. However, if household behaviour is not in sympathy with those environmental objectives, then the potential gains of better design and better technologies can be completely lost. Hence the focus today from Dr. Winifred Lewis, who'll look at household attitudes and behaviours to environmental sustainability. I think it is one of the sort of missing links in some of the environmental sustainability conversations. Finally, shelter, security and control over one's home are all central to health and wellbeing outcomes. In this way, housing assistance and housing policy are also health policies, health initiatives. Good housing provision provides a strong rationale for effectively saving money for governments in their growing and ever larger health budgets. And not to mention the immeasurable benefits of simply having healthier and happier people. And to talk to this issue of the links between housing and health and wellbeing, we have Associate Professor Susan Thompson, and that'll be our third paper this morning.